Hi, my name is Bryn, and this is the Bryn Jones Event Production and Producer template, and we're going to run through this really quickly. There is a lot to get through, and the reason why I'm doing this as a video is so that we can run through this together, and I can show you what this template actually does and whether it's right for you and your agency, your company, or whatever you want to use it for. So first we start off in the first tab, which is welcome. Just a little thing about me, why I've put this together and everything like that. Then we go into instructions. Now you can read the instructions if you want, or you can watch the video series on YouTube, which I've posted. Next we have the export tabs. Now we're going to leave them for now and go to the budget tab, because that's where this whole thing starts. So we have the event name, project name, all of this information here. And the great thing about this information that is it is already duplicated in all of the other tabs. Meaning that if you put the information in the budget, it replicates it over the entire document. So you don't have to do really unnecessary data entry 3, 4, 5 times. This budget is really, really useful. It has a whole bunch of different features other than the one I've just explained. It has your variable tax, markup percentages, discounts. So you can put markup percentages on your whole thing, or you can just add in line costs as well, depending on how your business runs. It has a currency converter, which is automatically linked to Google, meaning that all of the conversion rates are up to date with whatever the conversion rate is of that day. So you can convert from United Kingdom, European Union to pretty much any country via the drop-down menu there. There's also another option there to add a 5% converted value, meaning that if you have a specific currency conversion rate, it adds 5% on whatever that value is, so that doesn't matter if the currency changes, you're always going to be under the currency. You're not suddenly having to pay out of your own pocket for something. And there's also a preset conversion rate. So if you want to see a conversion rate and you want to preset it to see the conversion rate there is 1.14434, you can set it to be 1.2 is the conversion rate and set that, and then it will give you what you need to put in into your budget there to make sure that you are under when it comes to converting it to different currencies. For the rest of the document, you have all these different subheaders where you put in your cost for catering, security, scenic, audiovisual, all of that things. Audiovisual is actually already linked, but I'll come back to that later. We also have crew there, so you can put in all your different crew, number of days, quantity, all of that sort of information. We then go down and we have a budget breakdown, which will break down all of your costs among the different categories. So which category is costing you the most? Usually, as you can imagine, staff and crewing is the one that costs everyone the most. So that would be the biggest. But you can also try and see where you can make changes. You know, maybe your cleaning bills are too much, or maybe certain miscellaneous bills are too much. Then you also have a supply cost breakdown, which shows you which suppliers you're paying the most to, so which ones are costing you the much. So maybe your AV supplier is costing you much, maybe your lighting or your transport costs are too much. You can really break down the costs there. As I said before, all of this and how to use this is going to be in video tutorials. Next up, we have income. So this is mainly for live music touring, but you can use it for other projects if you see it being useful. So all of your different ticket sales, merch sales, bar sales, food sales, activation sales, and it also breaks down how these are distributed among different third-person stakeholders. So there's a third-person stakeholder here, promoter, and venue percentage, because venues, promoters, stakeholders take different percentages, and you're able to work that out here. Next is a PO tracker, where you're able to track any of your POs, and there's obviously going to be quite a few of them, but it's an easy way to track them. Unfortunately, it doesn't link to any software like XO or Xero and any other software, but it's a way to track all the purchase orders nice and cleanly. Expense tracker, so if you're overseas, you can track your expenses, and if they're money expenses or if they're card expenses, you can track them there. Next, we have our production run sheet, which is pretty self-explanatory for most people who work in events, but if you are new to this, then it will have a load in, rehearsals, show, and then pack down, and also the days in which they're on. I have done them this way. This is a very simplified way of doing it. If you have a more complicated way of doing it, like for instance your start times, and then you have an end time, and then you have a time which, how long it's supposed to go for, you're welcome to redesign it as you see fit. But I like to have a very, very easy to read and digestible way for production schedules, and you can change who that assignment is for and what room it's for, and then add in any notes that need to go in there. Next, we have an event program, which is the client side program. So if you have a client and have their own event program, you just put it in here. It's just a really easy way to flick back and forth between the production run sheet and your AV run sheet and your own internal run sheets so that all of your timings match up with what your client program is. Show AV run sheet is a more complicated run sheet for audio visual, so it has all your different cues, and this will have duration in it. For instance, if you have video cues, then you need to know how long those videos are before, so you can basically call the event a lot easier, so you can count it down and know when the next video needs to come in or when the next thing needs to start. Next is your supplier overview. Your supplier overview is basically all your suppliers for your event, their names, contact names, their lead contact on-site details. So sometimes you'll have an account manager and then you have an on-site contact, so you have that information there, when they're supposed to be on site, when they're supposed to be off-site, start, finish time, all of that information goes in there. It's just a contact sheet, basically. Then we have event equipment, so all of your furniture and non-technical items will go in all of these different subheaders here. So for each individual room or different area, you'll put in your furniture, all the different miscellaneous items. And if you need to know about the meters and how much different weight conversion, there is a weight conversion and a metric to imperial conversion there as well, which makes it a lot easier when you're planning your events. Next, we have our food and beverage, and this is where you detail all of the food and beverage for the event, including at the bottom your crew and staff and artist catering. So they're put down the bottom there, but they are equally as important, and they are put in there, and you're able to determine whether it's paid pre-post, payment by guest, voucher, what type of course it is, and whether there's any allergies or anything like that. You're welcome to make that as more complicated if you're more on the F&B side, but as a general overview, this is really easy to use and quick to use. Next, we have our audio and our technical sort of side. There is quite a number of different tabs for this. So first we have an overview of all the AV that's supposed to be on site. I'm actually leaving in all of this information in here as just a general guide because it makes it a lot easier to move around. But what this does is you are supposed to detail every single piece of AV kit that you'll be taking on site, your rigging, set, safety, backline, and then the cost of that as well. So this is more for your technical directors. And then you also have technical considerations for that particular area. And then you have multiple areas as well. So 1, 3 to 5. You can add more if you need to, or delete them if you don't need them. Down the bottom, you have all of these different subheaders are broken down into the costs of each area. So audio in area 1 is costing you this much, lighting in area 1 is costing you this much. And then you have a breakdown of the suppliers. So if you have multiple suppliers from audio, video, lighting, rigging, if you have different suppliers for all of them, you can put the cost in there, the VAT, and then it'll tell you the total cost. And if you are really prepared, then you will also use this to put a link to the quote inside of your Google file share or inside Dropbox or wherever you store all of your information. You can put the link for that quote there so you can quickly bring it up if you need it. This is really helpful for technical directors and people working in a technical capacity. And it also lets you know how many of each item is coming on site, especially if you're doing it as a white label and you are not bringing in a company to do it for you. You're kind of white labeling it. It's good to have this information. Plus, you can also share this with your clients. Rgging calculations, super important if you are rigging anything in the roof. I've added in this little note here to remember to add a 10% cable weight allocation for each truss. I think I spelled that wrong. Is it supposed to be double L or L? There we go. Changed now. Allocation is now correctly spelled. So we also have a weight converter in here, which is super helpful when you get different weights, whether you get them in pounds or kilos or grams or whatever the case. You can put that information in there and it quickly does the calculations for you. There is multiple truss lines, but they don't have to be truss lines. It's basically anything that's in the roof. So you put the name in there, quantity, the weight, and then it will tell you the total, and then it will tell you the total weight up the top. If this is not making sense to you at all, there is an example spreadsheet as well that you will be given, and you'll also be given example PDFs as well of how this is all supposed to work. You also have a clean rigging plot here, so where you can insert your clean rigging plot of the venue, so without any of your stuff on it, and then insert your rigging plot down below. I've also included, just for to help you guys out, is a rigging cheat sheet, so it has some very example costs, but obviously you would need to check these costs with your production supplier, or if you're a production house, then you obviously will check these yourselves with your own in-house equipment and put in those weights and all of those power requirements in there as well. And also don't forget to add what your roof max weight is so you don't collapse the roof or the structure. Power load. Power load is incredibly important. So you put in your equipment detail, the quantity, what it is in watts, amps, total watts, and it'll tell you the total amps, the kVA, and then when the power is required from the source, which will be a generator or whether it'll be a local wall, distro, and then the distro socket number. So you can go into real fine detail of where everything is going on your plans. If you don't know, or if you can't be bothered working out what the watts or the amps is for each individual item, and you've only given the amps of a particular piece of equipment, there is a voltage calculator up here. So all you need to do is you need to double check whatever country you're in, what the voltage of that country is, and then check. Then you just add in what you need to put in there. So, and then it'll tell you what it is in watts or what it is in amps. Again, there's a little cheat sheet here. Most countries are roughly about 230 volts. However, there are some countries that are a little different, such as the United States. So you just need to check this and obviously double check online where you're going to make sure you get the right voltage. And then over here on the right-hand side, you have it's kind of similar to the left-hand side, but the difference being is that it is a breakdown per source of electricity. So that if you have generators, for instance, you can slap this on the generator, and then it will tell whoever the electrician is or whoever's in charge of that generator or that power source point exactly what's going on that and the quantity and everything like that. It just keeps everyone informed of how much load is going on each generator and each wall point. Obviously, you probably wouldn't do this for a 13 amp wall point, but you have the option there, and it's just a sure way so that you do not trip and you have enough power for your area. There's also a plug guide here for anyone who isn't very technical minded. So there's all the different types of the most common, I would say, the most common sources of power cables and connections, and just a couple examples of distros. I wasn't going to label out all the different types of distros out there because there's so many, and also the plugs by type of country. So we have 5 different areas for that, and that will get exported to the technical overview later on. Next, we have cable calculations, and this is a really, really cool tab. What this does is that you're able to calculate all of your audio looms, lighting looms, and video looms all in one document. So what you can do here is if you put in, let's go to lighting because that's the easiest to explain, is you put in your fixture ID number. So you put in the fixture ID of the fixture, the fixture type. So say it's a Roby, I don't know, wash or whatever, the power draw, amp draw, then you can put them all in that area there. Obviously FX 1.1 is relating to the first line on that first socket that you're using, and then you can insert the tail end here, whether you're using a 16 amp tail or whether you're using a 13 amp tail or whether you're just going true one out of the socket. You can then put in your loom requirements. So say your loom needs to be 50 meters long. Then you can put in all the different types of cables. And the really cool thing is for this is that when you go up here, it will automatically tell you what you need. So you'll then put in up here, so say in the lighting pick list here, you got socket pecs. What was the one down here? So for lighting, we've got a 30 meter socket pec. So if you change that to 30 meters, it will tell you automatically how many you need. So when you've finished all of your lighting looms and you've done them for all your different truss lines and everything like that, and obviously this is more helpful for people who are working in touring because it's a lot more complex in their bigger shows, it will tell you exactly how many lengths of socket pecs that you will need for your event, and you can send this directly straight to your lighting supplier, audio supplier, video supplier, and this is very, very helpful and saves so much time. Obviously, if you have multiple different types of lengths of socket pecs, like a 30 meter and a 20 meter, you put socket pecs and then 20 meters. Again, this is all going to be brought up in the tutorials. But this is a very, very cool way to calculate all of your cabling for your event. There's a cheat sheet here for people who aren't very familiar with different types of cabling, Ethicon. These are all the most common cables for all the different disciplines, video, and it's just a really cool way to get your cable prep done correctly. And there's a few converters and adapters and things like that you know you will need. And then the control, front of house, and then monitors is also there for each individual discipline. Technical drawings, add all your technical drawings here. I've done a basic one for video. Obviously, you have your own, and it can be more complicated, but this is where you put it. And then you can also insert a floor plan with all the venue power locations. Next, we have audio. You add your audio sound vision in, what desks you're using, patch sheets for input, and output, microphone frequency sheet, the outputs for your different multi-core boxes. So if you have multiple multi-cores for different shows and whatever, they will go in there. Then you can add notes for the different, well, just any notes really you need for your show. Stage plot, your band requirements. So these are the band requirements that come directly from the band. So that's what you insert there so you don't miss anything. And then obviously stage plots. And then you fill out all the information above. Next, we go into video. So video will also have all of its own information. So you have all of your content that is going to be at your particular event. And this is automatically updated from a sheet that we haven't gone through yet, which is the project trackers. There's a digital content tracker in here, and that automatically sends all of that information into this area here so that you're not duplicating any information. However, you also don't have to put in all the unnecessary information, like when it's due and all of that, and who's doing it, all the money spent on video creation. You don't need to worry about that. Then we also have LED screen UV mapping pictures. So if you have multiple LED screens and they all have their own custom UV map that you're going to be putting onto the screen when you're testing it and running your tests, then you put in the link for that. And then here you have screen information, and this is where you insert all of the different information about the screens that you're going to be having at your event, the aspect ratio, pixel width, if you're using LED screens. This is just all the information you need about the screens so that the video techs don't have to keep asking you on site. DMX patch, this is pretty simple, but this is where your DMX patch goes. I understand that most lighting desks do have an export feature where you can export all of the patches to a Excel document. However, this is just another way of doing it, and it involves a lot more information than just a simple patch sheet, including the power cable, power socket type, data cable that you're going to be using, and whether it's power through or not. Obviously, some fixtures have both DMX and Ethernet settings, so you can use either, and it also includes the mode. So if you need to, you can also just copy and paste the information from your lighting desk Excel export and just put it straight into here. That's entirely up to you. I only go up to 99. You just continually add if you need more fixtures. And then down the bottom, you can insert your lighting patch flowchart. So if you are going in a little bit more complex setting where you're using multiple different nodes, multiple different lines to be run, and it's breaking out into multiple different areas, and it might be a little bit more complex than just a standard desk to lights, then that's where you put this in here to make it really easy for any crew. Finally, on the technical side, we have the network. So these are all your network requirements for your different areas, and where your who your network supplier is. Maybe it's the venue, maybe it's in third party, maybe it's a second third party. Then you have the on-site network equipment, so the equipment that's actually going on site, and you can add to this as much as you need and as much as you want. Moving out of technical, we now do the crew list where we have different accreditation levels and dietary requirements, contact names, all of that information goes in here, and their radio number. We keep going down, and we also have entertainment and artists. We keep these separate so that when we export this document, it doesn't have to give all the contact information for the artists, and I'll go into that very shortly. Accreditation levels, all your different accreditation levels, who gets access to what. You obviously can change this to what you need. And then you also have a link to the design of the different wristbands or the different types of badges. And then there is this box here where you insert a map of where to find the accreditation office so people don't get lost, as what normally happens at events. Crew transport, then we go into here and we have all these drop down menus on where all the different crew transport is, all the different airlines, trains, all of that fun stuff, and we put in as much information as we can. Check in, check out, transportation time, luggage allowance, meals, all of that information goes in here. This is automatically updated from the crew list. However, if you have a big crew, then obviously you'll need to update this yourself. On the right hand side here, you have the costs of each ticket, passport, a link to their passport, like a screenshot of their passport, and link to travel insurance. We have this for the departing, then we have this for returning. Down below, we have the transport from the transport hub, so the train station, airport, wherever, to the accommodation, and then obviously the to and from the venue as well. So transport to the hotel, then from the venue hotel. If this is pre-organized, then this is where you put that information in, and we keep going down, and then we have, again, separate for the artist entertainment, because we want to keep that information confidential, and we don't want all the crew to know all the artists' travel movements in here. One thing I should note, though, which is really cool, is that all of these transport costs on the right-hand side are not exported to your clients, and they are not exported to your crew and suppliers. So that's why there's a bit of a break here, to make sure that that information is kept confidential and in-house. Transport is the overall transport of the event, so all of your trucks and everything like that. Obviously, the bigger event, the more trucks you're going to need, the more complicated this sheet will become. However, it does have a few cool features. First of all, any information that you put on the top part here does not get exported. The part that does get exported is the load in and load out truck schedule down below here. This information here, as I alluded to earlier, is the load in and load out dates. These are automatically taken from the budget, so it makes it really super easy for you to use. And the top part here, obviously we just fill this out to however we need, and it also comes with a weight calculator, a weight converter, just to make things a lot easier for you to keep everything in the same metric system. Accommodation is pretty straightforward, where it is, who it's for, name, all of that information is there. Usually, in most instances, you will not get the room number until you actually check in, so that's why that isn't in there. But it has all the other information that anyone will need for that hotel. And again, accommodation costs are separate and are not exported, and it keeps that confidentiality. Toilets and waste has a toilet guide here that I've added in here to make it easier for you to calculate your toilet needs, but it has all the different types of toilets. I've said these toilet trailers here for you to put in your own information there if you have different, because there's so many different types of toilet trailers, and their dimensions, waste capacity and water capacity, so that you have enough space for them. Toilet clean schedule, toilet empty schedule, toilet supplies, waste management. Next, we have structures, so all the different structures you're going to be at the event, the wind rating, the ballast count, the ballast weight, type of structure, dimensions, all of that information goes in here. It's a very basic overview. Obviously, there's more information when you have structures, but this is a good overview of what each structure has from a management point of view. Then we have the overview of structures facilities, so whether the structure comes with water, electrical power capacity, internet facilities, and a link to the drawing of the different structures at your event. Parking. This is basically just an overview of all the vehicle allocations, parking policies for staff, parking policy for guests, etc., etc. Plant, all your different plant is put on here. Fuel type, date on site, size of plant, all that information goes there. Fencing, the idea is that you put a picture of the branding in the left-hand side, the name of the brand, fence type, size of fence, amount, date on site, and date off site for different locations. Here we have something that doesn't really get done a lot. It's basically the event leadership chart. Here you put in all the information of who's going to be on site, who's running what, and it shows who's in charge of who. So if you are a client, this is a really easy way to show who's in charge of who and the hierarchy. It's also a good way, and I don't mean this to be mean, but some people get a chip on their shoulder when they think they've been in the industry for 25 years and they don't understand that the technical director is in charge of the audio A2. So there's a technical one here, and then there is a non-technical one as well. So again, the same thing. You don't have merchandise staff telling the producer what to do. You don't have someone in the wardrobe telling creative designer what to do. It clearly lays out who's in charge of who in the industry. Now, obviously, you can change this to however you want. That's entirely up to you, and you don't even have to use this if you don't want to. But it is there for you to use should you need it. The responsibilities is a very hefty document. It's taken a long time to build this one, but it's the same thing. You put the names in here, and it will tell all of the roles and responsibilities for that role for that particular person. Now you can change this as much as or as little as you want. It's entirely flexible whether you even want to use this, but it is there in this document for you to use should you need to. Next, we have RAMs and health and safety. Put in all of your overview tracker here for fire safety, PLI, risk assessment. All of that information is put in here. It's just an easy way to track health and safety. Fire safety plans, evacuation plans. Licenses. Next, we have licenses, which is radio frequencies, trading licenses, service licenses, alcohol licenses, council licenses, all the different licenses you will need. Renders and floor plans. You put all your renders in here and your floor plans, and then finally your lighting floor plans, which tend to be quite complicated. So we keep them separate. Now, once all of this is done, these get exported to these different tabs here. So all of this information is automatically updated from all of these other tabs. So it's a nice, easy export version for your clients and for your suppliers. Now, the great thing about this is that it will have no information in regards to budgeting, in regards to money or anything like this. It keeps it nice and contained, and it keeps all of the information that would usually be kept in-house, and it stays in-house. There's no accidental exports. Same thing for the client side. There's a client side one, which is just a little bit easier for clients to understand, because sometimes they don't need as much information as everything, like a whole production booklet. And then you have a quick client budget export. And the great thing about the client budget export is that it's just a really quick way to update clients, because you can put them into more complicated pitch decks and into presentations, but this is just a really quick way to update clients, and it shows them all of their costs and the breakdown of all of their costs. This includes also their markups as well. So if you have markups, it will also add these markups in, tell them the discount and how much of a discount they're getting because you love them so much, and the VAT amount, and then the total due down the bottom. Has version number here, so you can always make sure that the version is the most up-to-date one. You can go to a client and say, which version are you looking at? Oh, you're looking at number 4? Well, we're actually at number 10 now. So here's version 10. Check out version 10, and it will say the date you sent it. So it's those two you will have to update yourself. However, everything else updates automatically from the budget, so it's super, super easy. Finally, in the exports, we have the technical export, which has all of the technical information for the event, which isn't shared with the suppliers and it isn't shared with the client because they don't need to know this information. It's compartmentalizing the information because you don't want to overload your clients with too much information they really don't care about and they don't need. Most clients don't care about DMX patching. The last thing we're going to show you is the trackers, is the proposal pitch process, which is all of the basic stages for a proposal and a pitch process. The next is the pre-event production and admin. So once you've won that bid, you've got that section there. So you go through all of that production for that. And then finally, what the post-production is. So sending invoices, passing on feedback, all of that fun stuff. On the right-hand side here, I've added in this here for client timelines. So this is when if you've given timelines to your client, or if your clients have given timelines to you, you add them in there so you never miss when your timelines are coming up. You can change all of these as well, so between different departments in your agency or in your group, and then you also have your names there, so you can allocate different tasks to different peoples in different departments, so it makes it super, super easy. And then finally, a deadline for all of those tasks. We go on next to the graphics, which is where we put in all of our graphics, so dimensions, number of prints, type of prints, all of that information there. Digital content is, again, I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the video tab. This information is about tracking all of the video and digital content. So whether you've received your assets and whether you've got approval or client approval, signed off proof. Yep, yes, great. That goes all in there. And that's it. That's the Bryn Jones production and producer template. I'm probably going to have to split this up into multiple videos because it is a lot to go through. There's 40-ish tabs to go through on this. But I hope that this has given you an idea of what this document does and whether or not it's worthwhile for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them through, and I hope to hear from you very soon. Catch you later, and goodbye.